My name's Matt. I'm alcoholic. Hey, we're going to open this meeting up with a moment of silence followed by the serenity prayer. If you ain't never been here before, it's going to be a little bit longer than a second. We're going to try to clear our brain and hopefully have a new experience with this step and pack something new into life. Russ is going to take us out when he's ready.
God, grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
All right. Like I said, my name's Matt. I'm an alcoholic. Hopefully you figured that out by now. What if I just said, no, I'm a drug addict. I don't like to drink, you know? I'm just a pill popper. Just have a problem plugging. Would you still think I'm okay? No. You know? Yeah, I remember coming to Alcoholics Anonymous, and that was always baffling me. You know, I was young at Alcoholics Anonymous. I had a problem with doing some other chemicals, and at some point, about 14, 15 years old, I used to do a lot of hard drugs and also some Roche 10 volumes, but I used to be able to, like, you know, just drink on party, you know, but I always smoked weed and did a lot of other hard drugs. So I labeled myself a drug addict for many years. And, yeah, if you are, that's fine, you know. But I used to separate myself, you know. I was like, you know, alcoholic, man, he drinks in the morning, you know. An alcoholic, he just can't stop and can't handle his liquor. He's always fighting or something, you know, or he's paying hell's money, or he drinks it in a bag, you know. And I think it's you know, as the years progressed, it just really didn't matter what it was. I physically had to have it for me to be okay, you know. Really looking at many a times of getting sober, I had a lot of good information from the treatment center put in my path. And they gave me a lot of good information. They told me a lot of stuff that was partly true, you know, and I figured I could get sober based off of what you told me. You know, I figured I'd do like a little 4th to 5th step, and I figured I'd make some amends, the ones that was pretty easy, you know, and I would just stay sober. And all I wanted to do was stay sober. And I knew I had the mental session, and I knew it was pretty powerful. And I never did stay sober. You know, and it wasn't until like this time I was kind of about where Dr. Bob and Bill W. maybe. You know, the whole program rests upon one guy helping somebody and the other guy making his amends. You know, Dr. Bob relapsed, and when he came off his spree, he grabbed the bull by the horns and he went out and made all his amends. So when I got sober this time in step 2, or what I come to believe in, was that I was going to have to sponsor people or get active in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was going to have to make all my amends. And I really wanted to change. Like, change was what I was, like, looking for. Did I want to? No. I didn't know how to change. That's what baffled me. As much as I wanted to do these things, I could build good careers. I could start off at working about an hour, become a foreman. You know, I mean, I could... They're just shit I could just do in such a short time, but eventually it will all fall back down on me, you know, and I just didn't know how, you know, you're saying that selfishness, dishonesty is killing me, but how do I actually get rid of it and live a different way? Because what was dominating me that still dominates me today is beyond my power or my control sometimes. You know, you don't have the choice not to press sin. Until you have enough misery where you just don't want to sin no more, you know. So that's a whole nother story. Let's go to page 30. Start off reading on 38. 38. Hey, a little bit about step 1. We're on step 8 and 9. I'm very emotionally drained. I got a whole remodeling project going in my house. I'm not there. So y'all gonna help me tonight, as you always do. But, you know, I'm just here, you know, here sick. So, start right here.
On through the years, his conduct no means to get the jaywalking idea out of his head. He shuts himself up in an asylum hoping to mend his ways. But the day he comes out, he races in front of a fire engine, which breaks his back. Such a man will be crazy, wouldn't he? You may think our illustration is too ridiculous, but is it? We who have been through the ringer have to admit if we have substituted alcoholism for jaywalking, the illustration would fit us exactly. However intelligent we may have been in other respects, where alcohol has been involved, we have been strangely insane.
So, I was, it's pretty cool, respect to other things. I could be like, I could work real hard, I could work 100 hours, I could pull this girl, and I could act like I'm going to be a dad, I could act like I'm going to be a boyfriend. But when it comes to alcohol, I'm going to tear it all down. And then really, it's just part-time shit. The puppy dog love always wears off, you know what I mean? And then for long, I just build a whole case and I push you away, or I just hook up with your aunt or something, whatever I do, you know what I mean? It's just, just like, remember this movie I was watching, Masterminds, and if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about, but they taking pictures, and he was like, well, how did y'all meet? And he was like, well, I was dating his brother, and he died. So I said, well, he's dead. I'll take the live one. And that's how she got with the brother, yeah. And that's what we do with our life. Like, something breaks or something don't go our way, we just, throw the shit away. Like, let's get something else, you know what I mean? This shit ain't working no more, And it's always something else to make us happy, right, See, that's how you really look at, what's true happiness and what is freedom, and that's what these steps produce. And at some point of long-term labor and long-term work, your true happiness, the center, comes with a motherfucker sitting in your goddamn living room because you have all this responsibility and you can't take it no more. Because you're not built to be a normal person. You're not built to do these things. You are a stream. If you're like me, I'm a stream person and I overdo everything I do. The directions I say don't tighten the screws too much, I always break them off. And it's just everything I do is to a stream, so keep reading. This is pretty cool. Why?
Some of you are thinking, yes, what you tell us is true, but it doesn't fully apply.
So what you're telling us is true, mean that somebody has to be armed with fact, that this would just be a theory, a doctor's opinion, because whether your liver, your enzymes, whether the endorphins in your brain is warped, and of course if you're doing methamphetamines and staying up for 3 or 4 weeks, or if you've been nodding out for a fucking year and taking fucking Xanabars and shooting crack with Kool-Aid, of course your brain is going to be fucking damaged. So I will go to these detox centers and mental health. This is my fucking experience. So, don't fucking say, Matt said this, or I'm not a fucking doctor. But I go to these places and they put me on the dual diagnosis side. They look at my medical history from my mental hospital, and then they start medicating me with Seroquel, Prozac, and all these other chemicals to try to treat this. And eventually, I would feel a little bit better. So this would go at bay. When I got sober this time, I did take Prozac. That was it. I refused all sleep medicine. I did not sleep but 2 or 3 hours a night my first 3 weeks of sobriety. Now my first week I did sleep only because I haven't been sleeping. And I'm a meth head, and a crackhead. So, I sleep 2 hours a night and say I sleep, That's power naps, as we want to call it. But the thing is, I didn't sleep, man. My head ran nonstop, and they would tell me all this, the counselors and this and that. And I'm like, I know I don't supposed to sleep good at night. I know my head is running. I know that these problems is still here. I want them to fucking be here. Because every time I was like Fred and Jim and all these other guys, I would come out of them hospital and I thought everything was great. I was like a tornado that ripped hearts from people. I have charges in buku parishes, I'm on parole, and everything's fucking great because I took 5 pictures with my kids. But everything is fucking great. That's how a victim of the delusion that I am. I've suffered alcohol torture, panhandling money, taking advantage of people just to get another night at the fucking motel. Whatever the case is, living this life. So, naturally, with a drug addict, and then what I find, you take that hopeless person and you dry his ass out, he's going to think he's fine. Well, hell, he's eating. He's working out. He's doing some things that he ain't been doing. So in his mind, he physically feels better. So understanding my alcoholism is that I have an abnormal reaction to it. Means like sometimes I might start off just drinking, but eventually I'm going to smoke a joint, and eventually I'm going to eat a Xanbar, and eventually I may help you look for your shit, and then, it goes and goes and goes. But at some point, it's not going to last a long time. You have a potential alcoholic, you have the real McCall, and then you have women that go beyond call, as they want to talk about in the book, That's, if you're anything like me, us guys, we relapse with them, and we're just like, they're alcoholics, they're bad. I'm just doing enough to keep me from craving where I could work, right, guys, huh? I'm just getting enough in the body. See, I'm trying to get to a certain point. And then when alcohol and drugs quit working, I get to that point, and I don't want to be there no more. This is when it quit working. At first it's fun, right? Disco ball, techno music, a little boosie, primo, little gravel in your blunts, everything's fun at this point. But at some point the music had to go. I used to tell jokes to people like in detox and treatment when I used to get sober. And the joke was like, why does a crackhead always sells his TV first? Or his CD player, or his radio? They're like, why? I'm like, you act like that crackhead's trying to listen to that. No, that's the first thing that he's not going to use. He's not trying to watch TV. He's not trying to, listen to the radio, And that's what happened for me when I was smoking crack, is that all that shit just vanished. And I was just sitting there alone. I didn't trust nobody. I had one friend. He blew his brains out when I got sober. And that was the only guy I trust, And I had my ex-wife, but I didn't trust her. I dug through her phone and called everybody. Like, who's it? Like bubbling, So, the crazy thing about us, can we get sober for 2 or 3 months? I put myself in a sober living house in Marksville or in Bridge House in Alexandria, and I can stay sober. I'm working out, I'm doing good, I'm thinking the environment has changed, but eventually, why do I keep going back to it? It's because of this obsession. Now, this little demon here is a very powerful thing. This little demon here would have me 2 months sober saying, hey, I'm just gonna take Tramadol. Hey, I'm just gonna take steroids. Hey, I'm just gonna take this. Hey, I'm just gonna use that. And this little thing just starts dumping all this shit in my body, and it starts destroying my beliefs, my values, and all this other shit. And it starts cutting my mental first, and because I'm already relying on all this shit, and then here comes spiritually. I'm starting to die. Fucking sick. It's sad. This little thing cranks up. The bad thing is nobody can see this thing coming. You're dead sober and everything's great, and you post 85 pictures a week, and you don't see that this bitch coming. You would not. If we could see it coming, then we would just be like, okay, it's coming. Let me prepare myself. There's no preparing, And the bad thing is, we go around the room, somebody was sober 2 months, somebody was sober 6 months, somebody was sober 90 days, somebody was sober a year. Who knows how long you're going to stay sober before you believe the lie again? The bad thing for me is that I had 6 months, I had 3 years one time, went through the steps when I had the 3 years. I never got involved, but I stayed sober 3 years, but it don't really mean, but the question is, when I did my step work, I look at my past, and I only have a month. I only have a month to do any step work, to get through the steps. I'm not saying to be on the 4th step. I said to get through the steps, for me. Because if not, I automatically think this is normal. I live my whole life in this. This is just normal shit. And physically I feel fine. This is me, okay? Now, the first 100 recognize that Bill knew that taking people through the steps in less than 30 days. Dr. Bob took people through the steps in 8 hours, and Clarence Snyder took people through the steps in 2 days. I'm not saying that your sponsor's horrible. I'm not telling you to switch your sponsors. I'm not saying, hey, this is the only way. But at some point, they wrote a book because they knew that it was going to get changed. And you know what they still do? They take the goddamn book and they still change it. And everybody wants to say, well, my counselor says and my sponsor says, you act like that's goddamn law. What does the history say? What does the book actually says? Does it say launched or does it say wait for my sponsor? You know, what does the book say? That's all I'm saying, you know? I'm not saying switch sponsors. You know, everybody's doing the best they can. And nobody's the best sponsor, okay? I made a lot of mistakes along the way. Keep reading.
We admit we have some of these symptoms, but we have not gone to the extremes you fellows did, nor are we likely to, for we understand ourselves so well after what you have told us that such things cannot happen again.
So if you never lived in a hotel room, you still may be an alcoholic. If you never, you know, did some other things on the internet, that's fine too. You may still be an alcoholic. If you ain't harmed your whole family and they still take care of you, guess what? You still may be an alcoholic. See, it's not your damn battle wounds that makes you an alcoholic. What makes a person an alcoholic, people want to say, you know, well, because my family left me, or because I harm everybody, or because of that. What makes a person an alcoholic is an abnormal reaction to any chemical or drug. Okay? And when they're dead sober, they think it would be different and that they could use something different. And they could use it successfully. The ability to control it and then enjoy it, there's a big difference. See, I never could control it. And at one time I was enjoying it, but then I quit enjoying it. And when I quit enjoying it, I couldn't control it and I wasn't enjoying it. And it was a cease of me continuing to use this to wrest some happiness out of it. And it was just, it wasn't going nowhere but to death. In darkness. So, you know, it's pretty crazy. Keep reading.
We have not lost everything in life through drinking, and we certainly do not intend to. Thanks for the information. That may be true of certain non-alcoholic people who, though drinking foolishly and heavily at the present time, are able to stop or moderate because their brains and bodies have not been damaged as ours was.
Some people could come in here and just hear some good information, and they're going to learn about some principles, and they're going to have an awesome life, man. You know, for real. It's cool. You know, I mean, I sponsored many of them, you know, but the thing is that their bodies and brains wasn't damaged as mine is. I'm not here to convince anybody an alcoholic. I used to do that for years. That I'm going to convince you that every time you drink, bad stuff happens. I don't have to convince you. You're supposed to be already convinced. If you're not, then here's $20. Go buy you some kratom, buy you some heroin, buy you some whatever that shit is, you know, Suboxone, whatever you want to use. Go buy you, go drink, go smoke weed. You know, like, I mean, I'm not here to convince you that you need to stop. This is the convincing, convince yourself. Either you're going to die or you're going to recognize you're one of us. Or you're going to realize that the program ain't for you. That you just kind of got bad off on some pain pills and you ended up getting hooked on heroin because it was more cheaper for heroin. And now that you dried up, your body is not damaged like ours. AA's filled up with them. If you stay sober long enough, you'll see that. You know? And them people is going to have an awesome life. Or some of them is just in that 3-year mark like me and staying sober that long but barely doing anything. And then they're going to fall. The bad thing is me, I want to get sober. I'll come in, pick up my desire chip, ask this guy to sponsor me, and then I'll follow him around, and I relapse, and then he'll probably relapse with me, and then I end up selling him some dope. Huh? Ain't that a bitch? Yeah, but I'm following you. Yeah? Happened to me a couple times, you know? So, ain't that crazy? So, off of that, understanding ourselves as alcoholic, we cannot fully admit that unless a person who's armed with facts about himself has hopefully had a change. Don't mean that they're perfect, okay? That I came to believe that this guy, Kyle, had an answer, you know, and maybe he knew enough about AA that maybe he could teach me something. I don't know. I could tell you everything about the steps. I could tell you how to write an inventory. I could tell you all about instincts. I could tell you where to do an hour of power on 75. I knew all this shit before I got sober. But hell, I couldn't stay sober. It don't matter what you know. That's why it's not education. I ain't here to educate you. I'm here to share my experience, strength, and hope. And that's what we're going to get to. Off of that belief system, you have to come to believe and lay aside some kind of doubts or prejudice. If you still know everything, and you know everything about God, you have already found God, then why are you working the steps, doing soul surgery to find God? Lack of power is out of dilemma. You could choose your own conception of God. However, an addict, which is on page 46, it doesn't fucking exist, means that you're still powerless. You know? And that's the crazy. And our own values and our own ideas and our own beliefs is so hard for us to see that. You know, that's why in the beginning of 44, and the Gnostic is preparing you for the unmanageability in this. Because if you don't see the unmanageability that everything's great, then you're really stuck at a road point. What are you sacrificing to God? You know, like what are we sacrificing? What are we aiming for? You know? Or are we just in fear that maybe this obsession? And sometimes that's good enough. My sponsor started out just hoping, you know, one thing, he hoped that the obsession was going to stay gone. The other thing, that he had to change. He went to a lot of meetings, did a lot of service work, continued to relapse, but never really got involved and went through the steps, you know. And and that was the pieces he's missing, you know. So, you know, I always look at it, if you're in and out like me, I always look at it like, what am I not doing? What am I not doing? I'm running from the people. For me, I always ran from the people who carried big books and the people who were serious. I wanted to hang out with the people who was getting laid. You know, I wanted to hang out with the cool people in AA. You know, I want to go to these conventions. I want to do this. I want to go to this house. We're going to watch movie night. And, you know, I want to do all this. And I'm in AA. What up? Yeah. You know, it's all fun, you know. Then you get to a point where, like, how the hell am I going to do all this? You look at your sponsor and you're like, how can I keep up with this guy? And then you're like, how do you sponsor 6 people? How do you do this? How do you do that? You know, and then at some point throughout the years, you just like, pray to God, 5 guys don't write their inventory that week, you know? And God's going to give you just enough. You just keep showing up. Just keep showing up. You know? Let's go to page 76. So off of that sacrifice, on step 3, we wrote out an inventory. We came off our knees with our power. We have completed step 7. Now, we need more action, which is very important. You know, this is very, look, this is treating for me. When I get sober, restless, irritable, discontent, all my resentments are starting to straighten out. My fears, I'm on a different basis of trust and rely upon God. Now, the guilt, shame, remorse is a very sneaky thing. I can't even see I have this until I post 18 pictures and I'm looking for all this recognition, or I'm wanting everybody to know how spiritual I am because the guilt is killing me because of all the fucking people I harmed and jacked. So this is a very sneaky thing that comes out, and our self-will and our security start dominating us, and we insist upon ruling it again. Keep reading.
Without which we find that faith without works is dead. Let's look at steps 8 and 9. We have a list of all persons we have harmed and to whom we are willing to make amends. We made it when we took inventory.
So hopefully you took an inventory, and hopefully your sponsor wrote an AM next to your inventory. Hopefully you didn't set it on fire like a ritual thing. You can do that afterwards, you know, but you need to make a list. See, everybody wants to, look, guys, 2 things happen to a person like me when I get to 8 and 9. Fear and pride. That's what stops me from making amends. Fear that I don't know how I'm going to pay this guy. Fear I don't know how I'm going to clean this up. Or pride, it ain't that really that big of a deal. You know, he's having an awesome life. And I just sleep it underneath the rug. You know, so, you know, the first thing I do is write a list, which contains taking my 4th step, and you could do it now, maybe later. That's recovery minutes. If that works for you, that's fine. I didn't like it. I like to do a material list, and I like to do a personal list. Means the material, for me, I had charges in 3 different parishes. I had to have a DWI, I had 3 driving under suspensions, I had 15 tickets, guys, you know, and 2 DWIs. So, it was a long time before I was able to really drive. It took me a few months. You know, I had to pay a lot of shit out to get the breathalyzer installed. So the first thing was at my list. Do I need to go call this 1-800 hotline number that I owe $20 to? No. You know? Am I going to go run down all the sober living houses I robbed? No. Not if you have no driver's license, swap tax, you know, you have bench warrants. So let me go make financial amends to this girl that I took her purse, you know, after we slept together. So, you know, you got to watch some of these amends can be selfish. And I want everybody in AA to know I'm doing good. I'm going to pay all these sober living houses. You got to watch some of our motives behind these amends, you know. So we want to go in the direction. This is my, you know, these are the things that, you know, guys, I talked to my sponsor this week about amends that came up to me about some fake money, and I didn't think I jacked nobody out of fake money, but my sponsee said he printed some fake money, and then I was like, damn, I did get a dude out of $300. And it was so justified. I got jacked, didn't know I got jacked, but I went to get $20 of gas, and I realized I got jacked, so I just went and read up, and then played it off. It was the old boy's money, you know. Original shit, you know, and then it's stuck down in your mind so long, you actually believe that shit. That's how you got to live with it. You know, there's no way you just live it knowing that you just robbed this guy. So in your mind, I actually believe that the dude actually gave me the money first and I just went and got him something. Yeah. So. And crazy, I talked to this guy a couple times, but it never came to my mind. So now it's haunting me. I'm praying about it. I've been praying about it. I talked to my sponsor because I was going to call this dude and try to set up an appointment. Now fear is going to hit me. I don't want to do that. I'm remodeling my house right now. I'm spending $5 or $6 grand a week. You know, it could wait. You know, so I'm in fear, but I'm like, you know what? I need to do that. I called my sponsor, and he's like, you know, just pray about it. Give it a week or so. See if God puts them in your life, and that's how God works. I mean, dude, that dude probably walk in. I just got awkward. Like that's how shit works for me, bro. It's creepy. So, you know, I'm just sitting back for a while, and if God don't put him in my life, I'm going to have to go search him. So that's two different things, guys. You see, when I didn't do much sitting and waiting for God to reveal these people to me. When God revealed them people to me, means I'm passing you in Home Depot. Hey, Matt, how you doing? Oh, shit. He wasn't even on my list or my horns, but I beat him with a baseball bat at the park. You know, I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. You know, so now I'm making amends. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, right when I got sober, I went straight to the creditors and started trying to get my driver's license. I made amends to some personal women, some of my friends, but not my family. Because of me, I've been in and out of AA, and my mom's in Alcoholics Anonymous. I made amends with my dad because he's not an alcoholic, but my mom, every time I relapsed, crushed her. So I made it different. Now, at 3 years of sobriety, I made amends to her. I was living at her house at the present time. I was going through a separation, and I was helping her out. And a guy just left the house. I mean, I always stayed outside working with people. When the guy left the house, and she was in her nightgown, I'll never forget it. And she's sitting in her nightgown, and she's like, "Son, you know, today I know that you're going to stay sober, and you're really doing something different in the world." And as she told me that, I went with my amends. You know, and it's pretty cool, you know. I mean, my mom and my sisters are Alcoholics Anonymous, so the longer we stay sober, you know, God reveals us to like an old car note that we owe our parents from, or different things. You know, you never really stop making amends, but as you grow spiritually and as you work with people, you realize you harm your family in them same twists. It's kind of it's very important. Like if I could just go off of this thought pattern I have now, you know, then I would never change. But as I grow spiritually and I get in the book with people, that's where I learn the most. You know, I had a sponsee call me one time, and he was asking me about his grand sponsee about robbing somebody, and he asked me what to do about it. I'm like, I really robbed nobody. You know, I'm like, I don't have no experience for that. I can't help you. I never robbed nobody. And boom, it hit me. I was like, damn, bro, I used to steal all my stepmom's lower tabs and Xanaxes, and my dad, and then they blame me. I'm like, I ain't jacked there, nah. You know, and it caused a lot of problems between my stepmom and my dad, but this is before I got sober. But then, so when he hit me that, I was like, oh, I did used to rob my stepmom, you know, and I never made amends for that. So now I'm fucked. You know, now it's on my heart. You know, so I'm sitting there like, man. And then I started thinking, I'm like, why didn't you make amends for that? Why wasn't that on your list? Well, I was living there at first. I don't want to just get out of treatment. Hey, guess what? Them lower tabs, them 100 lower tabs you've been missing, that was me. You got too much fear. Where are you going to go? Sober living? You might as well have your shit packed when you go. You know, like, all my shit's packed. By the way, I was the guy that jacked you. So one afternoon, I got to get out of this story. We get some more books because I could go on and on about amends. You know, there's just so many of them. But going on that you know, I was praying, so I started praying because this girl works for me. I'm going to see her, you know, and I'm praying. I'm waiting for the perfect opportunity, and you know, we was loading up some stuff at work. Nobody was around us. We was at my dad's house, and I said, hey, I got to really tell you something, you know, because I'm kind of like a boss to her, you know, but I'm like, I really have to tell you something, and she's like, what? And I'm like, you know, I got to make amends to you, and she's like, oh, because she knows we're in recovery and shit. And she just started crying in the driveway, bro. It was really cool, you know, and it goes on and on. I can remember, you know, making amends to John and Steven on my front porch, bro. I blew them down one day really fucking bad. I was having a horrible day. And the next morning, you know, I wrote and prayed. And I couldn't live one more day around them people without making amends. It was just, it was not, I wasn't going to live. You know, and they come out on my porch, and I just got done writing, and we was going to work, and I said, man, I got to make amends to both of y'all, you know, for the way I handled y'all and the way I talked to y'all yesterday, and whatever I do to make it right, you know. So, you know, it's just shit like that, man. Where are you going to really have these problems? Is the people you flash out on, or the people you talk about in your sober living house, or you criticize, or the people you just don't like because you just keep talking about them. Then you build cases with you and other people in the house to shout them out. Or we just talk about other people just to talk about them. Or, for instance, we sleep with other people's women and then we don't even tell nobody about it, and this and that and this and goes on. We destroy unity in the meeting. Or just use them temporarily because it's just normal shit that all we did was use people our whole life. But we never realized how that really actually affects them and how we even really going to change. See, at this point, we realize, like, yeah, I'm selfish. But when you got to go over there and make amends to that person and your soul is like eating your ass up in that goddamn meeting, it's a totally different thing. You would never, you're not going to change if you're still just doing that shit and saying, my bad, I'm sorry. Or you just don't never talk to them again like I used to do. You know, but at some point, your soul starts to haunt you over here with new direction, new ideas, and new spiritual, and you say, man, I can't live like this no more. You know, I can't keep putting myself in these positions, and that's how you start to change. You know, sometimes it's just like, man, much as you want to tell that person something, but you don't want to fucking make amends. And sometimes you get so angry, you're like, fuck it, I'm going to make amends to them later. You know, I'm about to fucking cuss this bitch out right now, you know? So, keep reading, Austin.
We subjected ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal. Now we go out to our fellows and repair the damage done in the past. We attempt to sweep away the debris which is accumulated out of our effort to live on self-will and run the show ourselves.
Debris is like a bomb. It's like when people's house flooded, their shit was on the side of the road, and that's what my life is filled up of heart. You know, alcoholism don't. You know, I used to always say, man, it only affects me. But no, my alcoholism puts strain on my sister, my dad, my auntie. I go live with her, then I go live with my cousin. You know, this alcoholism has harmed the first girl I ever loved. Me and her got in an argument. We was together for 3 or 4 years. This is back when I was a teenager. And then as soon as we broke up, we got in an argument, I slept with a neighbor. So like this has been going on early on. You know, and recently getting sober, then messing with her again, then never talking to her again, had to go make another amends to her. You know, there ain't no question of like, really, I always look at like, how are you doing? Great. No, you're not. What are you actually destroying today? You know, not saying every day is destroy and doom, but where am I like making amends to my 9-year-old son, as I have this weekend? And where am I making amends for Sarah for going against her beliefs of parenting and just doing what the fuck I think is best because of my beliefs and my values and not communicating with her or having her back with the kids? This is whole nother shit. Look, guys, if it's too deep, just hang on, okay? I don't know why I'm way over here, but that's where God put me at today. You know, I'm over here doing shit that I don't supposed to be doing, which is like communication, you know, and like fucking it up, you know? You know? It's not like what I want and what I think is best. It's like, this is how I feel and this is what I think is best for the kids. And then when I go against that and don't communicate with her because I think that this is what's best and that you're just disrespecting me and I'm just like not no pussy laying here sitting in the fucking chair trying to eat beans, that's when shit might get bad, you know? Well, I'm like, fuck you, look at everything I'm doing, and next thing you know, I'm like, look, I was really wrong for the way I handled that. Okay. Keep reading, Austin. Let me get out of there. My stomach's knotting up.
If we haven't the will to do this, we ask until it comes. Remember, it was agreed at the beginning we would go to any lengths for victory over alcohol.
So it's just a reminder that we go to any lengths for victory over alcohol. So flip over to 78. Most alcohol is sold money. So the thing is, and then the next thing I'm talking about is, you know, we ask God to help us be a maximum service to God and the people about us, and that's a principle. So the thing is, I'm trying to prepare myself to be a witness to anybody, to be the vessel of Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, to be what God has done in my life or your belief of what God is. So, you know, it's not, you know, the last thing I want to do is go tell everybody about how good God is on Facebook when 4 or 5 of my friends is atheists and they're in heavy metal bands. You know, when I had to make amends to one of my best friends for splitting his head with a mini baseball bat, you know, I didn't go over there and say, hey, bro, you know what? I found God and I got sober and I was wrong for hitting you with the baseball bat and what can I do to make it right? You know, I just told him, look, man, you know, I was wrong for what I've done and whatever I could do to make it right. I didn't tell him about Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't tell him about God because he don't want to hear that shit. They kicked him out the Hope Center because he don't want to believe in God. And he's still in and out of jail, can't stay sober because he thinks that this is about God. What it is about God, but you got to ease that bitch in him. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to just show up on the first date and like take off all your clothes. Yeah. You know, you want to be like, you know what? I really like talking to you. We're really bobbing good. You know? Red Box, Popeye's Chicken, yeah. So you want to ease your way in there, you know? I don't know what you're dealing with, you know what I mean? So, pick up reading. Most alcoholics owe money.
We did not dodge our creditors. Telling them what we are trying to do, we make no bones about our drinking. They usually know it anyway, whether we think so or not. Nor are we afraid of disclosing our alcoholism on the theory it may cause financial harm. Approached in this way, the most ruthless creditor will sometimes surprise us. Arranging the best deal we can, we let these people know we are sorry. Our drinking has made us slow to pay. We must lose our fear of creditors no matter how far we have to go, for we are liable to drink if we are afraid to face them.
I remember having a sponsee working at Ross's, making $10 an hour, made all his financial amends, and he stayed sober about 2 years. About a year and a half, he ends up working for this other job, making about $20 an hour, then ends up relapsing and never had no money. See, I think, you know, I'm not saying go work at McDonald's making $3 an hour that God's going to take care of you. But I'm saying with, you know, like me, I always look at like my jobs and my life, you know, try to put AA first. You know, some people think like you need to put your wife first, your kids first. For what? I'm going to be fucking miserable if I put them first. You know, I have a schedule for Alcoholics Anonymous that's allowed me to live. You know, and God requires action from me. And it may be different for everybody else, and that's fine. But I'm saying without a spiritual program of action, I would not live. You know, so by doing them things, I could go and practice principle. But what I'm trying to say is that the thing is, I remember making $15 an hour. When I got sober, I didn't have nothing. First of all, when I got sober, I ain't had nothing. I didn't go to the mall till I was almost 5 to 6 years sober. I didn't go to a concert. My dad paid me to go fishing with him. I didn't have nothing. I had charges in 3 different parishes. I was on parole to 2016. Okay, listen, I had breathalyzer installed for 3 years. I had a HRO insurance and all that other shit, horse ship license. So I didn't have no money. You know, I ended up having a baby about a year sober. I didn't have no money to be like, let's go to Arkansas. Let's go here. Let's go. I wasn't tired of like, how can I provide for this kid? How can I help drunk? And then meanwhile, I'm paying all this restitution and paying amends and paying probation in 2 different parishes and paying parole payments and paying this. And a lot of times they want to lock me up. But you know what? God always took care of me, guys. God always took care of me. I never went without, and I never went hungry. I always had lights. I ended up having a 3-bedroom trailer, and I ended up getting this kid out of fucking foster care with the girl I was with. That's how God takes care of me. So with all them charges eventually straightening out, and I ended up paying my brother-in-law back. You know, I got jacked out of, 5 ounces of nugs, man, and I owe my brother-in-law like $2,500, $2,000, somewhere around there, you know, and I ended up doing some work on his house to pay him off. Some people don't pay drug dealers. I paid back another dude that jacked out 2 ounces of nugs. And I could just go on and on. So at 5 years sober, I ended up going to jail for forcible rape in sobriety with a girl on the spree that I didn't even know she was on the spree. And she accused me of raping her and then played the victim role to try to get back with her boyfriend. And I did not even see none of this. I went over there to sell CD player, Justified. Realized God telling me not to do it. And as soon as I left, she's saying this stuff. Okay, so now I got, now that I'm 5 years sober, I got I got credit cards, I'm taking care of my mom, I'm taking care of my son, I got full custody of them. I have all these people depending on me, including my dad, and all this shit is wrecked. Because as soon as She signed the affidavit. They arrested me. They threw a parole hold on me. So out of that, everybody got harmed across the whole board. One decision based off of self just fucked over your whole family with 5 years of sobriety. One decision. One decision. And that's a whole nother dark place that we don't even have time to go to. So I get out, beat in trial, go to trial, pay $10,000 for a lawyer to go to trial because, you know, alcoholics, they're going to ban me. You know, my record, you know, public defender ain't going to help a nigga. You know, so I'm thinking all this shit. So I pay this, I actually put out, like, I'm tight with the lawyers because I've been in and out of jail since I was 17. So he just took $4,000. Said, I'll get you out. And he said, once I get you out, you just pay me the other $6,000. Get out. Credit cards behind $10,000. They're all that. They sold my car. I ain't had a vehicle or nothing. I'm right back from ground one. I owe my sister $1,500. I owe my mom $1,200. And I owe my dad no telling what. He paid for all the daycare fees. You know? So I get out and I make amends to these people. And I'm making amends to my dad and say, you know, look, I don't know what I owe you. I need a number. Okay? And he's like, you know, I want a number where I can start making payments to whatever it is I owe you. He's like, I ain't worried about it. I want you to run this business for me when I get too old. And that's what I'm fulfilling today. And I'm still in. When I get mad at the business, I got to remind myself that I'm living out this amends for my dad until he dies. So, with that, I had $10,000 on credit card. And I'm making $15 an hour, guys. And I'm saving money. I'll save $2,000 or $3,000, $4,000. And I'll call one of them credit cards that, you know, $3,000 or $4,000. They settle for $2,500. I'll pay them. After 6 months, I had one credit card left. I saved $3,000 or $4,000. I went and bought about $1,200 worth of 15-inch speakers. I bought two 12-inch TVs in my car. I didn't save money for 4 months. See, God gives you what you need as long as you're asking Him. You know, I'm in fear. Like, how am I going to clean this up? All my credit's ruined. I'm 5 or 6 years sober. I should be over here. I should be buying a house. I should be doing that. And then, you know what? I don't know how I'm going to do that. And I remember picking up my 6-year chip. And I said, you know what? This is how good God. I didn't even realize this. I said, in God's time, I paid my sister back. I paid $10,000 worth of my credit card. I paid $6,000 worth of my the legal fees I still owed him. Not mentioning the $1,500 in parole payments because they reprimanded me where the payments just kept going. So you know, I said, look at that shit, and I got $2,000 saved. But if I'd have took that money and went and tricked, or went and bought some speakers, or bought some new shoes, or bought a Galaxy 20, there it goes. It stopped. I'm not going to save not another penny. See, I believe God gives you what you need. You know, I get wrapped up, man. Some weeks I'm self-employed. I make $18 an hour. I may make $2,000 a week. I may make $1,000 a week. I may make $500 a week. My shit fluctuates, and I can tell you how God just takes care of you. That's all He does. He puts shit in your life and He takes care of you. But you got to get up and do what he wants you to do. He's not going to take care of me if I just sit on my ass and not talk to Him. You know? And that's the hardest part. It's like talking to Him. And then really getting these things out and really being like, God, I don't know what I'm doing. I need help. You know? So going down, keep reading.
Perhaps we have committed a criminal offense which might land us in jail if it were known to the authorities. We may be short in our accounts and unable to make good. We have already admitted this in confidence to another person, but we are sure we would be imprisoned or lose our job if it were known. Maybe it's only a petty offense, such as padding the expense account. Most of us have done that sort of thing. Maybe we're divorced and have remarried, but haven't kept up the alimony to number one. She is indignant about it and has a warrant out for our arrest. That's a common form of trouble too. Although these reparations take innumerable forms, there are some general principles which we find guiding. Finding ourselves that we've decided to go to any lengths to find a spiritual.
This is a spiritual principle. The thing around you read 8-9, no matter what amends you're dealing with, all have spiritual principles in them. Now people want to say, hey man, how did you learn this book? How did you fix that? When I read 8-9 with my sponsor, he said that prayer he's about to read, he said, read that prayer. When I went to court, they were offering me 10 years of running together with my parole. That's what I got sober underneath. I had all them charges. I was a 3-time loser. And I got sober in the mentality is I'm going to prison. I just wanted to be happy until I went. that me doing dope, swearing to God I'm not going to do this shit again, flushing the crack pipe down the toilet, waking up buying the bitch again in the morning, not working. And I just want to be happy until I go. You know, and the destruction is just weighing. You know, so I got sober like that. And I mean, I had other people that got sober with me, and we trudged together, and they just said, Matt, how do you do that? Like, you know you're going to jail, and you know you're going to prison. I'm like, dude, this is the happiest I've ever fucking been. It's out here talking to the fucking kids, thinking about how I can help them, or getting in the book with a motherfucker. Because anything besides that, I'm thinking about how I can fix it, looking in the fucking phone, Googling, looking on Facebook, judging people, lusting on people, and trying to Google how to do shit or how to fix shit. And I'm just over here lost like a ping pong ball at night, you know? So the only presences I have that I get in the book with you, you leave, you escape, I escape, and I have something else to practice. Listen, practice. I'm not a teacher, you know? I'm not telling you what to do or how to live. I'm trying to learn from you of how I'm falling short and how I'm not being pure and how I'm not reading on Awakening and how I'm not writing inventories and how I'm not trudging. See, at some point, your guys is going to hold your ass accountable. And it's not like you're holding them accountable and they're following you. You're following them. And if they're following, then they're making you seek harder. You know? So with that prayer and that principle, go to page 80 at the top. Before taking drastic action, we may indicate to other people we consider they're confident. So if I have some guilt, shame, and remorse that one of my partner or one of my friends in the sober living community, his old lady started sleep. I started, you know, she threw the thing on me, you know, and I feel bad for old boy because he in love with her, but she done dropped the monkey on me, you know. So, you know, what do? You're gonna go tell him because I feel bad for the dude, you know, he's running over here like boo boo the foo boo. You know, no, you can't tell him. You cannot tell him without the without the girl's permission. Even though it's haunting your soul, you have no right to involve this. You are harming the girl. You know, people get mad at you like, oh, I thought you were my boy. Like, man, I'm not over here keeping score with your broad. That's your shit, man. Now, if it's haunting your soul and you tell her and she's like, that's fine, you could tell them it's eating me up too, then you could go with your amends. Educate other people. We always considerate of others, but hard on ourselves. Considerate of others. See, we make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. So how would this affect Alcoholics Anonymous, and how would this affect this person? And I'm looking at that. You know? So keep reading.
We have obtained permission, we have consulted with others, asked God to help in the drastic.
There's another principle. We ask God to help in this drastic step. We might not strength of anything. For 2 or 3 years, I've called my sponsor before any amends. I mean, I was not like a Jesus come out there, hey man, I was wrong with what I done. What I got to do to make it right? Huh, come again? You know, like, dude, this shit's hard, bro. I mean, I can say I'm sorry. I'm good at that. My bad. Move around. Back up. I mean, I'm good at that. But I didn't know how to do this stuff, and I was so scared. I'm like, is this the right time? Is this the wrong time? And I'm thinking about all this shit, and I have to call my sponsor. I'm like, look, this is what's going on. You know, I remember making amends. I'm a horrible friend, you know, and I made amends to, you know, my brother-in-law's brother. You know, I ended up making amends to him. I ended up sleeping with a girl, and he, one of his girlfriends, he knew about it, you know, so it wasn't no top secret shit. Not once, but twice. So, horrible friend, man. And the crazy thing is, like, you know, I'm wanting to make amends to him, but his grandfather's in the room, and I'm like, well, you know, you want to make amends directly to him. Because if I go make amends to Chris, but this dude also know me, this dude, you know, I maybe harmed this dude, but I can't even see that at the time. See, we can only see so much. You know, so I'm making amends to him. Well, this dude go feel play. He like, well, what about that time in the hotel room in the river? I was on blackout. I don't even know about this shit. So see, I'm automatically causing harm. So I'm opening up a whole thing. So I'm like, good. The grandfather walk in. I'm like, good. I ain't got to make amends now. Yeah. He said, all right, I'm going to leave y'all. I'm going to leave y'all to it. I'm like, motherfucker. I made amends to this kid, you know? I mean, I'm not like, hey, man, you know I was wrong. Dude, I'm literally ready to cry because this dude is just a cool-ass friend, and I was incapable of doing that by selling women roasting volumes and just being who I am. You know, and I made amends to him. I said, bro, if you ever need anything, bro, I was completely wrong, you know, and I'm just a horrible friend, you know. And he said, oh, don't worry. And this dude, when I bought my place, He came over and did all kind of work at my place, just unrelentless of work for cheap. And did a good job, man. You know, and I mean, I love him like a brother. And that's what amends does for me. You know what I mean? It's like restores these relationships. I remember they had a girl one time, I was sober, and me and her got in an argument, and she got all on my face. I was like, you better get on my face. You know, and I ended up spitting in her face, and it got bad. I was about a year and a half, 2 years sober. And I wanted to make amends, but I threatened, she was threatening to call the cops on me, so I didn't want to put myself over there because I was going to harm my family. But I was willing to make the amends. So I pulled up at the store the next day, and you know who pulled up? The fucking girl. And I'm like, God damn it. This is how God works, man. You know, her mama knocked on my window, like, yeah, I think you owe my daughter something. You know, and I'm like, girl, you don't get away from me. I want to blow down mama too. I'm like, get up off my window, girl. You know, but, and I got out the car, and I said, look, I was wrong for the way I handled that. And if, you know, whatever I could do to make it right, you just let me know. And the mama jaw dropped. The daughter's looking around like somebody stole her dope. You know, and I'm just like, what do I do here? You know? And she's like, he's wrong. And look, a year later, I pulled up at the bank. The girl jumps out with her old man. Matt, we are in the fucking drive-thru, keep in mind. We're in the drive-thru. You can roll down your window and say, hey, look, I ain't forgot what this girl done to me, okay? So she's like, jumps out like, come on, give me a hug. And she wants another hug. Now, last time, she got blew down because I hugged her. She said I grabbed her butt. And I'm like, you ain't got no butt. What you talking about? I thought it was your back. Yeah? That was the argument. But that's the meaningless of the story. But the cool thing is this girl sees me at the bank and jumps out, hey, man. And I'm like, you know, of course you're like, hey. But in your mind, you're like, I ain't forgot about you blowing me down in front of my cousin. You know, because that's what it was at my cousin's house. And I'm like, who does this girl think she is? Disrespecting me in front of my family and all this shit. Put a kid around, you know, and I made a mistake, you know. I made a mistake, and I corrected it. But that's how this stuff. How does it affect these people? And if they ever need help, next thing you know, they're calling you. I remember running into like I said, dude, I could go on and on. I run into my ex-wife's parents at Golden Corral. And I'm sitting over there, I see them, we start talking, and I sit down with the family and analyze the past so that I can see it. And I said, look, I was wrong for a lot of stuff I put your grandson through and your daughter. And they just crying, bro. You know, their daughter's suffering alcoholism right now. She wasn't an alcoholic at the time. But, you know, they were just like, she should have stayed with you. Now, I was the same brother-in-law that they wanted her away from. You know? And they're like, you're doing so good now, you know? And it's like, you know, but I was the same person that drug everybody down around them. And I just think that that's really cool, too. The best financial amends I ever did make, I ended up jacking a dude out of 2 ounces of nugs because I was going detox. You don't need them no more. You know? I think like that. You know, I'm getting sober. Well, you ain't going to need them no more. So I ended up jacking this dude, and he hounded me for 3 years. This dude called me for 3 years over $600. Now, where did they do that at? You know how many people owe me goddamn 8 balls across Baton Rouge right now? Owe me 4.5. Hey, I fronted you and floated you just because you kept coming. You know? It come back with $40. Well, here's another grand, bro. Keep moving. Bring some more people through when you come through. You know? I ain't over here calling them dudes like, hey, bro, you got my 150, bro? I'm waiting. I've been waiting for a long time. This dude called me for 3 years. Now, when I first got sober, guys, I had all this stuff that was important, you know, lawyers, traffic ticket, they would want to lock me up. And after about 3 years of this guy calling me once or twice a month, I finally told him, I said, say, bro, what you want to do? You want to fucking fight about this shit? I said, I ain't got the money. Well, if we fight, I sure ain't going to get my money. I'm like, my point exactly. Quit fucking calling me. I ain't got the shit. That was bad, bro. After 3 years, you know, you just tell me you ain't got no money. You ain't got no money. And the next thing you know, he keeps calling you like, come on, bro. Come on. Let's go. Yeah? Let's go. You want your 600? Come take it out my ass. Let's go. You know, quit bothering me with this shit. So, make a long story short, guys. Look, we got to wind down. We're going to hit some relationships, and we're going to get the hell out of here. We're going to really make everybody feel uncomfortable, and we're going to go home and sleep good. So, you know, the thing is, guys, this is the best amends I ever made, guys. Look, I ended up getting sober, you know, 6 or 7 years sober. You know, I'm finally, you know, done with all them charges from jail and everything's good. I got a couple grand, $5,000 to $10,000 saved, and I'm okay. I run into a brother, it's during the flood, and I run into his brother, he's like, yo, hey, bro, we need you to work. I'm like, man, I don't trust your shady ass. You know, I don't work for people who's crazier than me. You know what I mean? You more crazy than me. And he like, you know, Shane doing good, this, that. I said, say, but tell Shane to call me. So I'm ready to make them in. I said, look, here's my number. Tell your brother to call me. I owe him some money. Boo, boo, boo. 2 weeks went by, no call. I'm like, dude, in meditation, this is haunting me. I'm like, because now God revealed me that I owe this guy money. So I'm like, haunting. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? He called me 3 weeks later, making a long story short. I said, look, bro, I got the money I owe you. I was wrong for what I done. What can I do to make it right? He said, I ain't worried about the money. I want you to fix this job. I got messed up. I said, I ain't got time to do the job. I'm booked out for 2 months, you know, but I am wrong for what I done. Whatever I can do to make it right, I got the $600 I owe you. Well, what I want you to do is fix the job. I said, I'm incapable of fixing the job because I'm too booked right now. You know, and we go back and forth. And he said, look, I'm not worried about the goddamn money. If you want to make it right, come look at this job. So I went and looked at the job, make a long story short, I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it. It was a $1,200 job, give them a very good price. You know, and one job fell through, the mother was waiting on another job, and I was able to do the job. You know, me and my brother split the money. I made $600, still try to give him back his $600. He said, I wasn't worried about it. The best $600 amends I ever made in my whole life. I made $600. You know? And it's clean. I talked to the guy on the phone about metal buildings, such and such and such. You know, it's pretty amazing, bro. It's like how all this stuff come about. You know, but once something haunts you, wherever you're at in your soul, you got to go take care of it. I ended up jacking somebody out of a Punch 45 one time. You know, living at my mama's house, I ended up jacking his amp. I've been carrying his amp for 15 years. I didn't realize it until John started working with me. A year later, he started talking about the amp. I realized I jacked it at my mama's old roommate's house, which was her son, which died in a car wreck, that he's no longer present. As soon as he revealed to him, I didn't even shower. I went home and grabbed the amp. I went to mama's house, knocked on the door. I said, look, I was wrong for stealing this out your house. I know your son's dead, but it was his. He was locked up on a 10-year Jose. He didn't need it, and I was wrong for jacking it. What can I do to make it right? This woman's 27 years in the program, and I was like, you know, what can I do to make it right? And if there's anything else I done, because I lived there for a while, if there's anything else I done, let me know, and you know, I'll make it right. She said, you can't pay for the window you busted when you lived out here. I don't even remember the window, still don't today. I ended up making amends for the window too. And then I asked her about going to the grave. I ended up going to the grave. She told me about a pond. There's 3 fucking ponds. I couldn't find it. Plus, I can't really read tombstones because I can't read it anyway. So I'm looking for this guy's name. But the good thing, it was like Kenny, who was a very, you know, Kenny's the small letters name, you know. So, you know, and finally, after 45 minutes looking for this guy's grave, I said, F this. I'm not going to find it. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to pray right here in the goddamn sky. And I give up. I can't find this guy's grave. I looked over to my right. The fucking grave was right there. And I cried and I told this dude I was wrong and he's no longer here for stealing something that was his while he was locked up. You know? We'll read just one little thing. We can get out of here. Go to page 81. No, 82. Perhaps there are some cases
where the utmost frankness is demanded. No outsider can appraise such an intimate situation. It may be that both will decide that the way of good sense and loving kindness is to let bygones be bygones. Each might pray about it, having the other one's happiness uppermost in mind. Keep it always the sight that we are dealing with that most terrible human emotion, jealousy. Good generalship may decide that the problem be attacked on the flank rather than risk face-to-face combat.
So, you know, no outsider could tell you who you should be with or how you was wrong or what you should do in them situations. You know, I don't like to tell nobody who they should be with and how they was wrong or what they was at wrong. You know, look, this is, you know, it's really hard to flank and communicate when the subjects get heated. Now, to have a relationship is very, very hard if you're like me, because I'm a selfish person. And that requires me not giving everything. I'm like, oh yeah, if you want that, that's fine, whatever. And next thing you know, I just very slowly build a case because I give you everything you want and you're still not fucking happy. It's about communicating, standing up for what I think is right and my beliefs, you know, and then adopt some of yours and we both work together. There's nothing like being in a relationship and the girl never makes amends. You feel like you're going nowhere and you're constantly making a fucking amends. And sometimes that girl may never make amends about that, and it may take her 5 years before she's changed that. You just got to pick what you want to live with and if you really, truly love that person. You know? Your job is not to sit there. If I go in and make amends to Sarah, even though she told me F you, and if she don't make amends to me, I do not need to feel no type of fucking way. That's about her soul, and that's her relationship with God. You know? But at some point, dealing with a non-alcoholic person, I've been here with my ex-wife, I just continue making amends, and I continue being the sick person, and I was the problem, and we was going nowhere. You know, step 4 is good as it goes. That means that you can only work on yourself so much. It may be healthy, it may be bad. You know, but each person is put in your life for a reason, and it's to teach you something. It's not for you to control. It's not for you to be all selfish and jealous because they get to go here, get to do this and do that, and that's not fucking love. Love is no matter what they do, you're there. You know, and it's about compromise and settling our beliefs. This is what I'm learning. Okay, you know, because I'm a selfish person. If you don't like it, pack your shit. Or I'll help you bag it. Who the fuck you think you are? Yeah. What? I don't wear thongs. You do. Back up. Yeah. So, but it's about compromising and about understanding. It's about laying aside what you think's best and being like, do you need me here? What can I do and what can I bring to it? This is hard, man. This is hard. This is what I'm trying to be today. It's hard. Because really, if it bears no fruits or I don't get no instant high from it, it's just fucking stupid. You know? Like, what the fuck ever. I don't thank everybody for coming out, man. Y'all really got me out of my shit. Kind of got me excited, you know. If you ever need anything, if you don't have a sponsor or something, we do whatever we can to help you. Ladies, if you haven't got a sponsor, Ashley or Rose or one of these girls have been around here for a while, we do whatever they can to help you. That's why we continue to come up here to just try to help somebody, you know. We would close with the Lord's Prayer. Who has all knowledge and power?